Okay, with filmmaker Lena Glikson, La Ghostification. She's also the singer, songwriter. You just did everything in this video. So this is your band, right? Or your kind of stage name, Lena Glikson?
Well, actually, the backstory of this is slightly different because I'm not like being an artist is not what I primarily do for work. I'm a film music editor that takes up 99.9% of my time.
Okay.
But I'm a professional musician. I just sometimes need some sort of an creative outlet and a way to express my emotions outside of work because I create a ton of music for movies. But it's really important for me to find opportunities to create and have a voice as an artist. So I can say that I produce and make a ton of music, but from time to time, I just express myself through it as an art form, independently from my day job, which is film music editing.
But so you know you understand storytelling, like I'm assuming you edited this music video as well.
Yes, I actually mostly like for work, I mostly edit music to picture.
Okay.
But this was a very unique experience for me because I was editing the video with my cinematographer, who was also the picture editor. But I was because I work so much with film, and to me, it's just such a huge part of what I do. Um, Cutting music to picture. Here it was a reverse process where we were cutting picture to my music, which is the luxury I don't have at all when I work as the music editor, because
Yeah.
usually you have a cut, you have a scene, and then you adjust the music to fit the scene really, really well, and you change the music to match picture. Here it was kind of like the reverse of that. We were adjusting the picture to make it work with the music, and it was a very cool process. And definitely, it had so many similarities to what I do as the music editor, and I
Yeah.
work with picture editors very closely. So that was a very exciting part of the process for me.
So what about you as a performer? Because you're fantastic in this video.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I actually, the reason why, like how I got into music editing was through performance because I was born in Russia. And then when I was 19, I got accepted to Berklee College of Music in Boston. And that's when I moved to the US to study performance, vocal performance. That's what I thought I would be doing. And then at Berklee, they had this major film scoring and I ended up picking that major and sticking with that. And gradually, from being a performer, my life transformed more into writing music for film, and then music editing. So yeah, it's just like all of a sudden my life has changed, and instead of becoming a performer, I became first, a film composer, then
Mhm.
a film music editor. But it's still within the music realm, and I just wish I had a little bit more time to make my own material and
Yeah.
to perform more because I really really enjoy it, and it was just such a great pleasure to work on this project because it's a true passion project of mine, really.
But I guess you're busy with your quote unquote day job. I guess you don't have much time.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening because, when you work on these big movies, you are in the cutting room 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. And what I do for work, it's quite similar, even though it's not exactly the same as writing music and performing it, but I make music.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel like it's kind of like the same muscle that you use. I used to write for theater in my hometown and I did a few productions with them, but I worked as a composer, and that was, another like creative outlet that I had. And it was a little bit hard. Like it's always a little hard to combine your independent creative projects with, working on big
Yeah,
features and
it's
everything.
a common filmmaking issue where like I worked in the industry and you end up working 12, 14-hour days
Yeah.
and then you're working on a TV show or a movie set and then you're so tired on the weekends you want to sleep because you need the rest and it's like it's hard to get motivated to do your own creative independent work, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So okay, so where are you? It seems like you're in the editing room right now. Is that where you are?
I am, yes.
Okay.
I'm in the cutting room.
You taking a break or you done for the day?
We're done for the day. We're done for the day. So that should be it.
Well, thanks for yeah. So so tell me about tell me about the song itself. What language is it?
It's in French.
Okay.
It's in
But you're
French.
Russian though, right?
I'm Russian, but I'm trying to do all these things that are not music editing. So I'm currently studying French, and I was like, since I really needed to express myself, I was going through a very dark, difficult period in my life last year, and I felt very isolated, and there were multiple heartbreaks and things weren't working out in my personal life. And I got into this really, really dark emotional state where I really wanted to express myself. And it was right after I took a little trip to France. I went to France for 3 weeks. I was studying French, and it was so important for me to kind of like detach from my LA life and from even detach from the film world for a
Mhm.
little while and go somewhere where people don't know anything about the movies I work on, just a completely different environment. So I took that trip and then I came back, and then I thought it might help me resolve some of the emotional issues I was going through. And they weren't going away. And then the idea of this song came to me where it just felt like a very natural way of talking through the things I was experiencing and expressing my feelings in a metaphoric way. And it's literally uh, just kind of this monologue to a person, which is, a number or different people in my life that make me feel a certain way. And because I'm surrounded by people from different cultures, and I wanted I don't know. I feel like when you make something in a language different from the language that the people you're referring to speak, it creates
Yeah.
a little extra layer of mystery. And because I just returned back from France, I was like, okay, I want to really utilize that. And instead of writing in English or in Russian, I would use third language and express myself through that. And I just find French to be very, very poetic and very musical. So I wanted to experiment. I've never like that. This was my very first time writing in French. So it was a very unique and interesting experience.
It must have been. Do you remember when you wrote it, where you were when you wrote the first draft of the song?
Yeah, I was writing at home. I was like having one of those really, really dark moments, and I wanted to express my feelings in a way that's not just like journaling or talking to myself or talking to a friend. And I remember very vividly because I had this idea. I just for a while I didn't know what I wanted to say, like, or I knew what I wanted to say, but finding the right form and the right words. And then I started thinking about ghosting and how I felt like I was ghosted. And I didn't want to, I think I came up with this because la Ghostification is a made-up word in French. It's not really a word. And it's just a very kind of like the whole song is about it is like this game of different metaphors. And I wanted to take this term very literally because the song is about ghosting and like very literally turning into a ghost. And the
Yeah.
lyrics literally say like, "What happened to you? Did your dog eat you?" And then that's kind of like the culmination, the climax of the song. Is that really why you disappeared? You actually turned into a ghost because your dog ate you? And it's kind of like this witty slash dark slash metaphoric, again, way of expressing what I was feeling back then.
And then when you wrote it, and then then I'm assuming you turned it into a song first, like you kind of recorded it, and then the music video was next after
E-
that.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So when I was writing the song, because I write quite a lot, but most of the time I'm just single-handedly producing everything because I do have the skills and I can record myself singing and I can make an arrangement and I can like record certain instruments, play the piano and do all those things by myself. But this time I was like, okay, I wanna do this together with my friends. And actually even creating the song was quite a collaborative process like my niece from Russia recorded drums for the song, and then a very close friend of mine produced it. He was the sound producer slash like the engineer for the song, the mixer. And a couple of friends, like my mentor, my music editor mentor, who is also an incredible bass player. And he had an incredible career as a rock and roll bass player back in the UK in the 70s and in the 80s, and he recorded bass parts. So it was this kind of like sense of community that we created while we were making this song. And when it was finished, because I was really taking my time, I was doing it in parallel with a project that I was working on as a music editor. So I would like do some work at night and over the weekend record a few parts and then edit them. So I was like trying to find different ways of incorporating working on this song into my daily life. And then when it was finished, and I still had some unresolved feelings, and I
Mhm.
felt like I had something more to say. That's when the idea of this music video came to me when I was like, okay, I want to create an extra layer of meaning, and there is more that I want to say with this song.
So you it said on Film Freeway that this is your first time that you directed a film?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Obviously you have experience, but then this is so okay, so you wrote the song, you got the song, it's produced, it's recorded. What did you like I'll get to the making of the video in a second, but in terms of did you write a script for the video and like kind of have a loose idea of what you wanted to say? I guess there's three parts, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think basically I think the idea of the video came to me when I was going through some, like, not even going through some references. I think I came across some visuals online and I was like, oh my God, I really like this vibe. And for some reason, kind of like the two things clicked. And I was like, okay, I feel like it might actually work for the song that I just wrote. So,
Mm.
how do I turn those visuals that, like, this idea, the visual idea that I have right now from like seeing this photo
Yeah. It's kind of like a
into
mood board. You kind of had like a visual mood board in a sense.
exactly, exactly. And then I was going through my references and I was structuring them and turning those into a script. So basically I I had the lyrics for my song and then I laid out what will be happening where in terms of the storytelling and in terms of what we're trying to achieve. At first we had kind of like this I had more of a general idea and I thought we would just spend one day in the studio and that would be it. And then when we started editing, I realized that there are like some of the footage I wasn't quite happy with. And I realized that because it's just so important to me and I want to make something that I can be proud of and feel like I did
Mm.
everything I could to take it up to the level where it, like, based on my skill and where I am as just a creator, kind of like make it as good as it can potentially be. So we booked another day at the studio and then we shot some additional footage as well. And that essentially turned into the second half of the video.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about okay, so you got the studio, and then in terms of the first like the first scene where it's the stairs and you're
Mhm.
kind of like young ish kind of like and so I guess you're kind of playing the teenage vibe. I don't know, but that's my projection, but
Yeah, yeah, it's basically this idea of, and I wasn't really going off like a certain age. I wasn't
sure.
really trying to. I think like the way I view this video is that there are so many layers, and I think the thing that I appreciate about it is that every person watching it can see something that resonates with
Sure.
them,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not necessarily telling you what it needs to be. But to me, it's just this idea, this metaphor of youth and innocence. Uh, Maybe not even youth that much, but just the innocence and, being open to this world. Everything is very minimalist and simplistic, and
Yeah.
you have this image that's kind of very, very pure, this pure person, pure girl that's open to this world, and she is just trying to reach out to the person she's talking to. She's on the phone and she is trying to get a hold of them, and they're just not answering.
Yeah. It's like that. It's like a new like old school teenage where you're on the like romance, you're on the phone, and then there's a contrast to the next part, but like literally 1 minute in, and then it's all of a sudden you're not so innocent anymore. But let's talk about the first third minute of the film. So did you kind of how did you stage the stairs? Where did you find those stairs? Did you have to build them? I'm just curious.
No, we didn't have to build them. They were just in the
They were
studio.
there.
They are
Yeah.
a part, and actually they are one of the reasons why we booked that particular studio,
Gotcha.
because it's all just like white with those stairs. And yeah, it was actually a factor in in booking that particular place.
So you had many costume changes. Did you kind of just like set up your own costumes to
Yeah.
kind of figure out your creation that way?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So basically, I had these, ideas about the different characters, because technically it is the same person, but it's not. And it's
Yeah.
more of representation of different states of mind and different shades of personality and different moods. And yes, I carefully planned everything, and I was responsible for all the props and all the costumes. I had someone who was helping me with the hair for that particular look. But in some other scenes, I was doing my own hair and makeup. And I was kind of like very particular, everything from, the hairstyles that I was doing to like the shoes that I was wearing. I planned everything in advance, and it was on me. So it was my responsibility, and it was a cool creative opportunity for me to like be so hands-on with pretty much everything.
So who was there when you're like obviously you're cinematographer, it's Edward, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So who
And
else was anybody else there besides the two of you?
there was also a gaffer who was helping us on the
Okay.
very first
Yeah.
day with the lighting.
So you had multiple costume changes in the video.
Yeah.
So okay, so what's the symbolism of the red there's red throughout the video, but what's the symbolism of the red phone?
To me, it's the sense of being incredibly unstable and disturbed by whatever is happening. It's a very aggressive color, and it's used in contrast with white and black, which is used in different contexts slightly differently, because it can mean something dark, but at the same time it can mean like depth and I don't know, um, just some emotional accent, because you know red appears in this very musically aggressive, disturbing part of the song.
Mhm.
And to me, it's a visual representation of that particular state where you are uncomfortable, but then you're full of rage and you're trying to express it. And when we're talking about the color and the symbolism, that's what red represents to me in this context.
So let's talk about the second costume change. How would you describe your your
The black,
your
the
outfits? Yeah, so
leather.
like yeah, because it's
Yeah.
rage, but it's also sexy at the same time. Would you is that fair to say?
Um, I guess so, but
Yeah.
that's not necessarily what I was,
No,
going
I understand. I
after.
get it, but you understand why people would think that too, though. Hopefully, yeah,
Yeah, well, yes. And I think, you can be naked in different ways.
yeah,
And to me, in that chorus, it's more of a symbol that emotionally like, you're pretty much this kind of like open wound, or just this nerve that's, being
yeah,
disturbed by whatever is happening. So it's being emotionally naked more than physically naked.
yeah,
That's what I'm trying to convey, because when it's just you and your emotions, all the layers that usually protect you, they're not there. So to me, it's more about this
yeah.
than
That
anything
makes a lot of
else.
sense. And then you have those like strings. Strings
Hmm.
are like they come back like the next scene where on your eyes. But then
Mm.
when that kind of scene, you have I thought it was hair at the beginning,
Oh,
and then when you when I first
yeah.
watched it, then I watched it again. I was like, oh no, it's not because I thought it was like just the way it was. But yeah, it's
Hmm.
interesting. And you did your own hairstyle and makeup and everything?
I got help. So with the braids, I was getting help with that.
Okay.
But yeah, the second half of if like the black dress, that hairstyle is something that I did myself. And like the scene with the red
Yeah.
threads, like red tears, whatever those are, which they were. That's also my hairstyle.
But then the next scene is that it's like I said, this is all projection. Like I said, everybody comes up with their own opinion, but
Yeah.
it seems like the character has like some perspective, I guess. It's been through some darkness, it has perspective. You got candles. You go from black, your costumes from black dress to white dress to black dress. So you're like you're like you got some human understanding, I guess. But
It's
that's my project perspective.
Yeah, it's the transformation
Yeah,
that we were talking about because it's definitely, there is this arc from something very gentle and pure and innocent, towards the end where it's like this almost monster looking
yeah,
creature. But it's all about the darkness that consumes you. And maybe not necessarily the transformation of the person, but the transformation of the inner state of that particular character, where you start off, yeah, as this, young innocent
yeah.
girl, and then you turn into that.
You turn it, yeah. And so yeah, you're an adult in a sense, almost like an adult, like a jaded adult in a sense. And then you
Hmm.
go into this like kind of, oh my God, sorry, you like this veil. You go into this veil. I had a brain freeze there for a second, and then this darkness happens, I guess, right? Where you're kind of in a silhouette and you're almost like a witch.
Yeah, yeah, is the darkness
Yeah,
that consumes you,
yeah,
that when something like that happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of then this was all done in the same studio. You kind of just like did costume changes. Would you guys storyboard anything beforehand, or I'm just curious?
I had visual references, and
Okay.
I was like, okay, so in this scene we that's gonna be the look, and then I was using a bit of AI to like help me finesse my
Mhm.
ideas, but not to like to generate anything, um, uh, but kind of like mostly to structure my thoughts. And I was very particular because when I was communicating with my cinematographer, I literally sent him this super detailed doc that had like every single scene and what the visuals would look like
Yeah.
and what the character would be doing. So yeah, but in terms of like the more conventional storyboard, that's not something that I did, but the visuals and like the references, all of them were there.
And how long did you spend like just a day there shooting?
Yeah, so the first day was a long day. It was a 12-hour long day. And then the second one was, I think, we had like 4 or 5 additional hours. It was in a
Okay.
different studio. So the scene with the fireplace and with all the candles, that one is shot in a different studio.
Yeah. I guess there's some fire concerns when that scene's going on
Well,
with
but
shooting.
the flame, actually, yeah, except for the candle that I'm holding, everything else is fake.
Okay,
So
gotcha. Well, yeah, you would wonder. Yeah. Okay, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, but just one candle was real.
It's a great visual. It looks great.
Thank
So
you.
so then obviously you know how to edit, and then so you knew like it's in terms of this is that the song is your sound design, and you know how long it's going to be. So like how much I'm sure you had hours of footage. Like how was that experience putting it all together?
It was a little bit draining
Yeah.
because I feel like I wanted perfection, and I thought it would be a completely foreign experience, but it was not because it's again so similar to what I do every single day.
Mhm.
And we had to be creative with some shots and like certain transitions, and that was a little new for me because with music, you only work on the music transitions, and with visuals and things like that, like we had to think out of the box, reverse certain shots, or just like cheat certain perspectives, which I've never done. I had experience editing my YouTube videos because I have a little YouTube channel where I talk about music editing
Yeah.
and film music. But editing a video where you're just this one person, you're barely moving, within one shot, it's so different from obviously editing something as complex as a music video. But it was a lot of fun, and I think I'm so grateful to my editor slash cinematographer who was so patient with me, and he would like, because a lot of what I do is related to editing vocals for musicals, and I'm just a nerd when it comes to lip sync. And we got as close as we could in terms of, the lip sync in the music video, because obviously I wasn't singing on set. And like rolling every single shot so that everything looks perfect. That was just, and I know that most people would probably not be able to notice, but because I work in musicals so much, I notice when, the
Sure.
lips and
Yeah.
the sound is out of sync.
Yeah. But
So
nobody, you know that 99% of people don't notice that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's when we're talking about being a
Yeah.
pro and like
Yeah.
certain level,
Yeah.
trying to hit that bar that's super high.
It's like the when someone's playing the guitar in a music video and they're not
And not
it's
really,
off, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But nobody
yeah,
nobody can notice it unless they play the guitar, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, your YouTube channel is great. It's you got lots of like you got like how to most of it's in Russian, right? So
yeah,
but it's like you got how to, you got some like some Jewish music, you got
yeah.
yeah, you got your culture, you got, like it's like in how to, and it seems pretty great. So
Thank you. Thank you so much.
and so then now you got this music video. So what motivated you to send, because you got the channel, it's got 5,000 views right now, this video. Like what motivated you to send to festivals?
Um, It was one of my colleagues. I work on Stranger Things season 5 right now, and I'm just surrounded by like so many great editors and professionals. And a
Okay.
couple of colleagues gave me really positive feedback about this music video, and one of them suggested that I should submit it for film festivals. Something I like, yeah, I never really considered doing that. I didn't even know, to be quite honest, that such categories exist, because I always thought of film festivals as something for features only, maybe shorts, but not necessarily music videos.
Mm.
And a colleague of mine who is a VFX editor on Stranger Things, he was like, I made a music video, a few years ago, and I was able to submit it to some festivals and get some awesome feedback and some incredible experiences. So he recommended that, and that's why I submitted my
Oh,
music
that's
video.
amazing. And so did he submit to this, the art festival?
No, he did not.
Okay.
But I found you guys because I was researching,
On
you
Film
know,
Freeway?
yeah, on Film Freeway,
Yeah.
and I was looking for festivals that promote kind of like um experimental
Yeah.
work with experimental dance music videos, and your festival is just incredible, and I felt like my music video might actually work for the type of projects you're looking for.
Well, I hope it's getting other festivals too. I think it's a great video. So I see obviously you
Thank
see
you
a
so
lot of
much.
them. And yeah, it's really great. So okay, so before we leave you, we asked you what film you watched the most times in your life, and you kind of said two films that you worked on,
Yes.
which are pretty big films. So I got to ask you about so you worked on A Star, not the name or film drop, but it's the film drop, but you worked on A Star Is Born and Joker
Yeah.
in post-production.
Yes. Yes.
So what was your job? I'm just curious, what was your official title on those films?
Music editor on both of those.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah.
So what is a music, someone who doesn't know, what does a music editor do?
It really depends on the project. On something like A Star Is Born, I was working with the vocals. I was doing a lot of post-production for the vocals.
Okay.
Lip sync was a big one, and making sure, the songs, basically comping vocals, making perfect vocal takes, picking out the best takes, the best syllables for every single word, putting
Mhm.
that stuff together. I was responsible for how the song sounded in general, and I was writing little instrumental parts for different instruments. If we had like a piano player on stage who would be moving his fingers, but there was no piano parts.
As
Um,
we're just discussing. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and doing things like that. And on something like Joker, what music editor does, it's basically everything. We're responsible for the synchronization between the music and the picture. And on Joker, I also was creating new pieces of music from composers' demos and different instrumental parts that the composer made, and kind of like making things sit really well with picture, making sure that music works well with the scene. It's like uh, basically sculpting the music for each scene, and that was my job on Joker too. But other than that, it's a big, big technical job. You spend multiple, just several months, many months on one project, and you work from the beginning of post-production until the end of the final mix. You're responsible for collecting all the music, cutting the songs, putting all the music in sync
Yeah.
with picture, and delivering the music to the dub stage where eventually the music will be mixed, and doing all the director's notes, stuff like
And A
that.
Star is Born obviously is a musical, so that's a so then did you have the like Lady Gaga or Bradley Cooper, they have to come in. Obviously, they're gonna redo the music, obviously, again and again in the studio, right? But then they have to, everything, like you said, everything's gotta be lip synced and perfect and
Yeah, well, in terms of re-recording things, that's not something they did. They actually recorded everything live on set, and Bradley didn't want to um, have anything from the studio that would have this polished sound. So part
oh,
of my
okay.
job was
What do I
polishing.
know? All right. Okay.
Yeah, but definitely they work a lot on the music, and the cut changes a lot. And Lady Gaga wanted to enhance some of the arrangements, but Bradley wanted to keep everything very raw and natural and exactly how it sounded when they were filming it. So yes, there are
Is that
definitely.
a common, is that common though? I'm assuming.
Not really,
Yeah.
but it really depends on the project. Like Joker 2, the again, not to film drop, but
Did
just,
you work on the second one? I was gonna ask you, did you work on the
yeah,
second
I,
film?
I
Yeah.
did. I did as well. Yeah. And my job there was actually something in between. It was kind of like a combination of what I did on A Star is Born and
Yeah.
on Joker 1. But yeah, on that movie, we also preserved the vocals from set. So we did not re-record any vocals later on.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say something. And my wife can back me up here. But I thought Joker, the second Joker was totally misunderstood. I thought it was
Oh,
like such a gutsy film. It was so gutsy, and they made a musical. Like how like you don't like I thought if I say 100 like plot points in the film. So I thought it was a little bit misunderstood, and there's different theories, but it's unfortunate that it got like someone just, you know what I mean? It got the bad press, and then it just kind of went downhill, unfortunately. And you work
yeah.
your butt off on it for so long, right?
Yeah, I was on it for 6, 7 months, something like that. So it was
Yeah,
a
so
long
that's
time.
so how does that feel? That must be like such a disheartening feeling.
Uh, in a way, for sure, yes. But you also learn how to kind of detach a little bit because you always try to do your best work
Yeah,
ever, and you work as if it's your very last project in your life.
yeah.
But at the same time, because you never know what the audience will think about it, what the
Mm.
film critics are going to say. You just know that you did everything you could, and then the rest, turns into history. And you just know that you delivered and you did what you were asked for. So that's kind of like the most important thing to me when I work on something and that it doesn't get the reception that I hope it would. It's just a little protective layer that I'm wearing, not to
Yeah,
get too upset about
yeah.
negative
A
feedback.
lot of like a lot of people like then you're kind of working on a new project probably, but as soon as when it comes out anyways, right? You're kind of
Yeah,
your brain's probably
yeah,
in another project as well, right? So,
yeah, yeah,
but
and that
yeah,
protects you as well.
but listen, the Joker and Stars Born, it's good to have on the credit list. So where do you are you working on something now?
Stranger Things season 5.
Season five, okay, season two, and so that's a different kind of like from working on television, different episodes than movies, I guess, right?
Yeah, yeah. Stranger Things is similar in a way because it's a really, really big show, but there are definitely, certain differences because it's TV and not featured.
Well, are you you have another project in mind to direct?
Hopefully another song. Hopefully I will, create another song and then make a music video because I don't know, I think it's a really interesting combination of the two art forms.
And it's amazing. I'm going to go back because people have to understand is that you speak English like you fluently because you don't really, they have a very faint accent. Obviously, you speak Russian and you decided to take up French and then you made a music video in French.
Yes.
That's
Uh,
that's extremely impressive. So,
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm just trying, I'm trying to distract myself from the work that I do and not to get completely consumed by it. So that's why I'm having all these different hobbies and things that matter, that are not just, working on these big,
yeah.
big
And
films.
you're like I said, it's a fantastic performance because
Thank you
it's
so
3 minutes
much.
long, but there's a huge arc in your journey, right? With a costume, but it's perfect costume changes, but at the same time, you're performing. You're different stages of performance, right? So like
Yeah.
not many people can do that either. So have you thought about acting or
I think singing, back in the day, I thought maybe I would be an actress in musicals, but
yeah, but I'm saying read like now, like in 2025.
If I had an opportunity, I would definitely perform and sing more and incorporate acting into that kind of like path and into that side of me. I don't think I've ever considered being or becoming an actress, but using that as a tool to just, convey my music and transmit all the meanings and the metaphor through that, through kind of like an external um, mm, I don't know, image and another person that I'm trying, or maybe not another person, but just like showing a certain side of me. Because even in this music video, it's still me. I'm not trying to be like a completely different character. It's definitely not the natural form that I
Yeah.
exist in, but it's expressing my own emotions, and I think that's what really resonates with me, because when it's my music and when I'm acting in the music video, I'm still transmitting my own experience and like my own emotion through that character.
And one last thing before I leave you, because I'm just on your Instagram page now. So
Mhm.
you won an Emmy
For
for
Stranger Things, for editing music, um on Stranger Things season 4.
in season 4. So how was that experience picking up your Emmy?
It was really cool. It was something completely unexpected, and I felt so fortunate to just to be on the show, to be quite honest, and to be nominated and then to get the award. It's definitely a really nice bonus to what I do professionally, and it's some sort of a formal form of recognition for what I do. So that was lovely, and just a great honor.
And so your journey, like going from Russia to this top school to where you are now. I'm assuming your parents must be proud.
They say that they are.
They say that they are.
Yes, yes. I think it's a little, tough because they still live in Russia and I'm just, miles away, and it's a little hard to travel for,
Obvious reasons,
very
yeah.
obvious reasons. But yeah, I think they're just happy that I do what I love, and that's what matters the most to them.
And do you see it? Do you see an Oscar, picking up an Oscar one
Who
day?
knows? Who knows? I'll
Have you
I'll
been
do my
nominated
best.
yet?
And not yet. There is no category for music editors.
I know.
Um,
What's up with that? Tell me. Like they now they have stunt performer Oscar, but they should have a category for you, shouldn't they?
Fingers crossed.
It is
Fingers
weird
on.
because they have like an art direction category, but it's really a production designer. It's like I don't know. They're kind of mixed up, but you figure that they would get these things going on. But because there's sound design editing, right?
Yeah, yeah. There is.
But you're
There
not
they
part of that team.
no, not just yet, but who knows, and hopefully one day. I'm so sorry. I feel like I actually have to run
Yeah,
because
no problem.
we
Let's wrap
we
up. All right.
It was so lovely speaking
Yeah.
with you. Thank
All
you
right.
so much again for all the
Thank you.
incredible
All right.
opportunities from the
Let's talk again
festival.
when you make your next film.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Bye.
much.